Mhm. Hey, good evening, good evening, good evening, everyone. Just one moment as we set everything up. This is Sandbox. All right, so we're going to be getting into things very soon. There we go, that's what I want. Got this all set up. Perfect. Making sure the stream is nice and strong. Oh, where is this stuff? Right here. All right. If you have any questions, please throw them my way. I'm more than happy to answer them. I can hear myself. Great. No, no, I'm not going to need the headphones because they are annoying. Okay, so we will pop this down. Pop this down. And what's happening here? PHP Storm is indexing. Of course it is. Of course it is. All right, cool. So we'll just get straight into it, hey? Might as well. All right, so the stream is nice and strong. Where are we? Right here. All right, perfect. Taxonomy, taxonomy, taxonomy. All right. What am I doing? All right. So let's go ahead and get right into it. I'll start that recording and I have to make sure everything's recording. And where's this one? The final one. So turn that off, turn this on, select the right mic. I've done that before. Recorded the wrong mic. And we are good to go. Okay. Let's switch over to the main feed. And as I said, yeah, if you have any questions, yeah, just throw them my way. This is all a fun video. Okay, mic nice and strong. So we might as well just jump straight into it. Great. Cool. So hello and welcome to tonight's video. Today we're going to be talking about categorizing content using the taxonomy system. Now, the taxonomy system is a fundamental system of Drupal. It's been around for a long time. I actually learnt what the word taxonomy meant from using Drupal. And this is a great segue to mention that the word taxonomy actually means the science of classifying or the science of classification. And if you've been building websites for a long time and you've been building, software and things like that, I'm sure you've come across taxonomy. I think even WordPress uses the same word as well for their tags and categories and things like that. So today I'm going to take you through the process of first introducing you to the taxonomy system, and then we're going to just set things up and look at a few awesome modules that I use a lot and just have a play around with what is available for us in Drupal CMS. Now, everything I cover is applicable for Drupal core as well as Drupal CMS. So whichever version of Drupal you use, you're going to be able to take what you learned and implement it wherever you want. As long as you're building a Drupal site, let's be honest. So let's start things off by looking at how we can manage taxonomies. So here I've got a Drupal CMS site and I have logged in, okay? Now there is a module called taxonomy. Chances are it's already installed. And every single Drupal installation profile, or we're trying to move away now from installation profiles, but I don't know if it's an actual core, well, it's a core module, but I don't know if it's a required module that's required no matter what. I think you can use Drupal without it. But if you use the node module, which is like content types and things like that, you need taxonomy. So if you can't see anything, like if you go to structure and you can't see taxonomy, make sure you have the taxonomy module installed. So let's go to structure and then click on taxonomy. And here you manage your vocabularies, okay? Now, let's discuss a few terms because Drupal loves to just create a bunch of terms and terminologies and you're thinking, wait, what are they talking about? So from here, you can manage your vocabularies. And a vocabulary is just a category type. Think of it like that. I often throw around category type vocabulary sparingly because I feel like sometimes, depending who you're talking to, people won't know what, when you're saying vocabulary, they're like, what's that? But if you say category type, they're like, oh yeah, I understand. So you can see here that we do have one vocabulary called tags, and this is used just for tagging content. And this came with Drupal CMS. Now, if you want to create a new vocabulary or a category type or a bundle, whatever you want to call it, let's click on add vocabulary and I'll call this one just category. Okay, this is a common, I'll make sure my caps locks is off. So I'll call this one category. And then you can give it a description. This scheduler is a scheduler module, I believe, and it is just part of Drupal CMS, but you can install this in Drupal core, but you won't see this scheduler module in Drupal core, or if you're not using Drupal CMS. And then let's put in a description, used for categorizing content. See, it's complaining that I'm not spelling categorizing right. Wait, is that how you spell it? No, because I'm trying to write in the English that most of my viewers are from, which is like US English. All right, let's click on save. All right. So from here, we can manage all of our taxonomy terms. Again, what is a term? Well, a term is just, think of it as the category. So you have the category type in this example. The term is just the category item. So the individual category item. When it comes to tags, the tag itself is just the term. So again, if you're talking to Drupal people and they are throwing out, oh yeah, you just create a vocabulary and then you create a bunch of taxonomy terms, that's what you know. Okay, that's what they're essentially talking about. And I know that when I work with developers as well, I often say, create a vocabulary, we can have a few taxonomy terms, and then from here, you can manage it. You can manage all of the terms from list. Now, up the top here, you will see a few tabs. We have edit, that allows us to edit our, vocab. Then we have manage fields, manage form display, and manage permissions. Now, vocabs or vocabularies or taxonomy terms, whatever you want to call it, they are fieldable. So you can attach custom fields to them. So you have the same manage fields, manage form display and manage display. And also now I have to say the manage permissions. If we go to content types and edit a content type, again, you see the same. Manage fields, manage form display, and manage permissions. Now, I do have a separate video on getting started with the field system in Drupal. If you want to learn more about managing fields, check that out. Head over to our the YouTube channel and go click on live and you will find it there. But what I'm trying to say is that it is fieldable, and in all my years of using Drupal, especially Drupal 8, because I do believe in Drupal 8 and above, it was officially fieldable. I think I've only ever attached a custom field to a vocabulary once. Yes, I think I've only ever done it once. I don't know. It's one of those things that you think, all right, yeah, great, fieldable. Let's just chuck a whole bunch of fields onto it. And yeah, you can do that. But in my experience, I've only ever done it a few times. Well, actually once that I can remember right now. So yes, they are fieldable, absolutely. But you may not want to attach fields to it. All right. So let's click on list. And from here, we can create our actual terms. So let's go ahead and do that. So on our category vocabulary, let's create, let's chuck in React. I always like to be tech focused. Drupal, I should have done Drupal first. And then, if you click on save, it will save the page and you come back here, which is great. Or you can click on save and go to list. So Drupal, what is it? WordPress, and let's put in AWS. And this time I'm going to click on save and go to list. Okay, so now we have gone to the list. So we can see all of our categories. On a large website, you will have a large list of taxonomy terms. So from here, you can manage the individual terms. You can even add a child term. And what that does is that sets the relationship or the parent term. The other thing you can do is just pop them like so. So you've got this, so you can move things around and save it, and you can set the order or the hierarchy of your terms this way. Now, if you pop this back so it's all one level, you can reset. So it's reset to alphabetical, and it's reset like that. Now, one feature the taxonomy module comes with is it ships a bunch of views out of the box. So if we click on first few terms, you will see this taxonomy /term and then the ID. And this will display all content which is referencing this term. You don't have to use these views. You can go ahead and delete these views, but it just saves you from having to recreate them from scratch. So when it comes to creating your vocabularies and managing them, there's not much to it. First of all, when you're building a Drupal site, when you're fleshing out your content model, you do have to think about, okay, how are you going to categorize content? In the past, I've used the taxonomy system to categorize animal profiles for a zoo. Yes, that's true. You could actually donate. So I think every animal had a page, had a content type, and we then had a taxonomy, a few vocabularies to categorize the animal. And this was a long time ago, I built a Drupal 7 site using Drupal Commerce to actually sell a car. That was a fun project. And I think we had a taxonomy for make, model, variant. So all these categories of a car. And it was very, very flexible. So when you do plan out your Drupal site, you want to think about exactly what type of vocabularies you are going to have. And then once you've created it, you can chuck in all your terms. And now we need to look at how to reference these terms, because this is where the power really comes together. Being able to reference these terms in your content type. And we're going to do that by creating a news content type. Now, of course, I could just install a recipe, but this is a hour-long live stream, so I need to do something. I can't just use AI and the chatbot and say, make me this, because then there's not much to this video, really. I have been thinking maybe I will utilize a bit more of the AI just to show Drupal's capabilities. That's something for the future. All right. So let's go ahead and create a content type. And let's go to structure, content types. And we do have basic page that came in out of the box. Well, out of the box in Drupal CMS. And what we're going to do now is click on add content type, and I'll call this one, what is it, news? And I'll click on save and manage fields. And I'll click on add a new field, formatted text, and I'll call this one news content. And we'll just leave everything as it is. Okay. All right. Now we need to create a field for pretty much every single vocabulary. So in this example, for my news content type, I want to be able to categorize it and also tag it. So to do that, all I need to do is create an entity reference field and point to each vocabulary. Now, when you set up an entity reference field, you can only reference a single entity type, so that is taxonomy, and also a bundle, so that is a vocabulary. You do have a module called a dynamic entity reference that allows you to reference different type of entities, but in this case, we're going to keep it simple, okay? We're going to do it the Drupal way, because often you only want a single field referencing tags and a single field referencing categories, okay? So all we need to do is click on create new field, click on reference on the right-hand side, and then select taxonomy term. And we'll call this one, well, what are we going to call it? No, we're not going to call it tags, because tags is already taken, because if we click on continue, it's going to complain that the machine name is taken because it is already used. We can reuse this field, absolutely, but let's create a new field, and I'll call this one news tags. And I should also mention, when it comes to reusing fields, that is a whole other discussion. That's actually very tricky discussion sometimes, because depending on how you are going to query your content really depends on how you're going to share properties. It's a very tricky thing. And often when you're trying to flesh out your content model, you're thinking to yourself, okay, if I want to display all content which has been referenced with this tag, 9 times out of 10, you want to use the same field across multiple content types, because then it's very easy to create a view or create a query essentially that just says, grab all the content that is using field underscore tags where term is whatever. Okay. So again, it depends on your content model. It depends on many things. It's Drupal. It depends. I mean, that's life really, isn't it? So you just want to think about the possibility of, in the future, if you are going to have the requirement, because I'm just trying to think of this as I'm going, but like have the requirement where you want to query content in a very specific way, then you may want to share fields. But in this case, I'll stick with the custom field. All right. So we've done this, and let's click on continue. And from type of item to reference, taxonomy, that's fine. Allowed number of values. Now, because this is a tags field, we want to allow unlimited amount of tags. We can limit it down to like 5 or 10. If that's a requirement, you can chuck that in. But we want to allow unlimited tags, because think of it like this, you're just tagging content. And then if we scroll further down, we have vocabulary, and let's select tags. And you can select multiple vocabularies, but in this case, we just want to have one. And the other thing which I highly recommend you do is check create referenced entities if they don't already exist. So what this does is if a user or an editor is on the news page and he's just filling out the form, they can easily create a new tag from the form just by adding it to the field without having to go to structure, taxonomy, tags, and create it manually. So this is just a nice to have. And that's what tags are. Again, it depends on how you want to structure your content. I've worked with editorial teams where they have a curated list of tags and nobody can change it unless the main head editor approves it. But then I've worked with editorial teams where they're like, just tag it whichever way you want. So anyway, it's your choice, but it's a nice thing to have. So let's click on that. And let's click on create another field. And we'll call this one, what is it? News category. And again, select taxonomy term. And we'll only allow a single category, which is correct. And let's just select category down here. Okay. And if we go to create, let's click on news. Let's call this one test news, if I can spell it. Test news content. Okay. Test news content. Oh, can't even spell. And then if we scroll down, we have autocomplete fields. If I start typing, you can kind of see something in here. Let me just double check the stream. Yeah, you can kind of see it down here. And then if I click on here, well, I can't see any tags because there are no tags. Let me just chuck in a few tags. Let me go in here and I'll create one called, what is it? Tag 1, tag 2, and tag 3. Then if I type in here, we can see tag 1, tag 2, okay? And if we want to add another tag, we can just click on add another item and tag it, and we'll tag this one Drupal, okay? And we click on save. All right. So at this point, we have created the vocabulary, so the categories and tags, and if we created the tags. And to actually tag content or categorize a content, you need to create the entity reference field and then point it to the taxonomy vocabulary. If you're using something like Drupal Commerce or you want to, Drupal Commerce where you have products or you want to categorize users as well, again, all you need to do is create your vocabulary and then create a entity reference field and point to the vocabulary. And that's it. And you've categorized it. So the way you categorize your content types can also be used to categorize any other entity type because they are all fieldable. All right. So let's go back to our news page and let's take a look at a few of the widgets because I personally don't like an autocomplete field, especially this autocomplete field, because the tricky part is knowing what options are available unless you start typing, and it's just not a nice UI experience, a user experience, sorry. So generally what I like to do is, let's go back to our manage fields and then click on manage form display. So from the manage form display, you can control a widget. What is a widget? Well, let me just give you a quick primer on fields in Drupal. So the widget is the form element that is used to enter data in, and the formatter, which you manage from the manage display, is what's displayed to the end user. So when you render out the value, that is through a formatter. When you want to enter data into a field, that is done through a widget. And you manage your formatters from manage display, and you manage your widgets from manage form display. And then manage fields, you actually manage your actual field types, and then manage permissions, you manage permissions. Okay. So if we scroll down to news tags, we have autocomplete. You do have select list, checkboxes, radio buttons, and you have autocomplete tags style. Now, this tag style isn't bad. Okay. If you want to allow users to tag content just by adding in a comma, I recommend this widget. But for news category, let's just change it to select list and click on save. And if we come in and refresh, we do have a better UI, especially for the category, the news category field. I still don't like this autocomplete, and I will show you a module in 1 second, which is actually pretty good. So with category, with news category, this is just a nice select list. Okay, we can come along in here and we can select it. Then from news tags, if we want to add in another tag, we need to add in a comma and then just start typing. But see, this is my issue. You need to know what the tags are to know to select it. So it's kind of like, well, if you don't know what you don't know, if you don't know what tags to search for, then you don't know what tags to search for. You know what I mean? This is where I'm not a real fan of autocomplete, unless you're like, okay, I'm just going to just chuck in a whole bunch of tags. So we can also put in, what is it? New tag. And this should automatically create it for us. There you go. It's gone ahead and created it for us. Notice how we didn't have to go to structure and then taxonomy and go ahead and create it. We did it all through this specific field. And that is it. And that just makes life pretty easy. Okay, you can just do it directly from here. Now, if we go back here and go to news category, you will see another option. Checkboxes and radio buttons. Let's change that. Now let's refresh. Right now, it is a radio button. But how do I change it to checkboxes? Now, the reason why it is a radio button is because the number of values that's allowed on news category is set to 1. So a radio button is great when you can only select one value. Checkboxes is better for when you have to select multiple items. So the widget is smart enough to know if the number of values is greater than 1, essentially, it's going to be a checkbox. If it is limited just to one value, it's always going to be a radio button, because if we click on the cogwheel, there are no options. So you can't just switch between checkboxes and radio buttons. If we go to manage fields and click on, where is it? News category, and we change this to unlimited, well, now what's it going to be? It's going to be a checkboxes. Okay. So we can go ahead and select multiple items. And now we have categorized this news item and added it to 3 categories. Okay. One thing to be aware of is that if you do change the number of values and you then want to change it back, okay, let's go back and edit. And what we're going to do is change this allowed number of values back to 1. It's going to complain. It's technically going to complain up until, so this item has 3. So essentially what it's going to do is it'll go through all of your content and see how many, and find the content that has the most value. So in this case, we have 3 items. So we can technically set this to 3 and it's going to be fine. As soon as we set it to 2, it's going to complain because there is existing content that has 3 items. If we change this, and just select 2 items and refresh and set this to limited, I think 2, yeah, see, we can add 2 items because the existing content has a news item with yeah, with a max of 2 categories. Let's leave this set to unlimited. Well, the other thing we can do is change it. Let's change it back to, where is it? Select list. Let's change it back to there. And let's edit this. If your field has unlimited values and you select the select list widget, then you get this multi-select list, which I personally do not like this element. The reason for it is because often you will have 5 or 6 or 50 categories, and the list is pretty big, and it's very easy to reset what was selected just by clicking on things and losing what's available. So I don't like it when it's I don't like using a multi-select list when you can categorize items, when you can select multiple categories. So in that case, I would use a checklist. But let's just fix this up so we can select one item. And let's go back here. And there you go. Hasn't complained about it. And let's click on save. One thing to be aware of is that if you are going to change the number of values, going from unlimited to 1, especially if you have existing content, will require some type of migration work, because to do it properly, you will need to then define and figure out which category will be your main canonical category or your main category. And then you'll have to write a bit of custom code to just go through your existing content and delete the rest of the reference. You don't have to delete the actual taxonomy term, but just delete the reference from the news item to the term. So you will have to do a bit of migration work around that. So just be aware of it. It's very easy to go from, say, 1 to unlimited. Going back, it's doable. It's just a pain. It's it's essentially just migration work. All right. So when it comes to referencing content, you want to create your entity reference field and point to your vocabularies, and then you can configure your widgets. But this being Drupal, of course, there are other modules that I recommend that you check out, and let's take a look at a few of them. So here I've got Autocomplete Deluxe. Now, this is the deluxe version of Autocomplete. It is a pretty good widget. I've used it a few times in the past, and to use it, all you need to do is just grab the correct version. I've already gone ahead and downloaded it. So you can see from Drupal 10.3 and above, you want to grab this first version. So let's go back here. Let's go to extend, and I'll type in Autocomplete Deluxe and click on install. Luckily for us, there are no extra libraries to download. The library ships with the module, which is great. So all we need to do is come along in here, refresh, and scroll down, and we should see Autocomplete Deluxe. And if we click on the cogwheel, we can control a few items. So you can define the match operator, so that is when you're searching for content. You can also limit how much content you want returned when you're searching for it. This is, believe it or not, very useful. I do believe that if you are using the autocomplete field, it is hard coded to like 20 somewhere in Drupal core. Maybe that's changed, but I know I looked at this a few years ago, and the actual returned amount in the autocomplete out of the box is hard coded. So this is good. And then you can set up these messages. So this is great for situations where you don't want to call it a term, you want to call it something else, you can do so. And of course, you want to allow new terms, yeah, so they can be created. So let's click on that, click on save. Now, if we edit our content, we get this nice little pill format. Okay, so we can go ahead and close it. Now, the first thing, okay, when you click on it, you see a list of tags. Okay, this is the first nice little UI thing. You can actually see a tag to click on, which is great. Or if I search for new, it's going to show me new. Okay, so let's select that, and I'll select also tag 1. The other thing you can do is you can change the order of of the referenced tag. Now, this is technically the delta, but I have worked on sites where the actual order of the reference tags plays an important part. So you could have something where if you're using Search API and the tag is the first tag, then add extra weight when you index that content for that first tag. So there are always some use cases. There's always going to be some use case where you want to control that. Now, using the standard autocomplete field, you can do that, but you just need to then remove everything and then just add it back in a particular order. But in this case, you can just click and drag. There you go, simple. Nice and simple. So Autocomplete Deluxe, highly recommend it. Use it. I've used it on many sites and I absolutely love it. Now, the next module I recommend is client-side hierarchical select. There are a few of these type of modules that allow you to allow you to select content in a hierarchical, oh, I struggle with that word, hierarchical format. Okay. But this one, I've had the least amount of problems and it just works. So yeah, you do have, what is it? Simple hierarchical select, Some may have been upgraded for Drupal 8 and above. But let me just show you client-side hierarchical select. So I've already gone ahead and downloaded the module. And what's it called? Client-side. Let's search for that. Client-side hierarchical select. Let's go ahead and install that. And before we do anything, let's add in a bit of structure to our list. All right, what are we going to do? Let's go add term. This one can be called hosting, Google Cloud. What else? Let's do CMS. There we go. And JavaScript. Oh, and put in Vue.js. All right. Let's go back here. And what we're going to do is Drupal and WordPress can go under CMS, under hosting, AWS, Google Cloud, and finally React and Vue. Let's click on save. Well, let's fix that up. And let's also reset to alphabetical. So that won't remove the structure. It's just going to reset everything in alphabetical format within the parent terms. Let me just double check that. Let me move AWS and now down and then click on reset. I see, there you go. It does. Simple. All right, cool. All right, so we've done all of that. Now, if we go to our manage form display and change this to client-side hierarchical select, and if we click on the cogwheel, we do have a few options, okay? First things first, you can set the parent. So you may only want to allow from this particular field a specific parent. I think you can drill down. Yeah, you can, okay? You can drill it further down. and say, actually, I want it from this drop down. Then you can define your depth, your required depth. You can also force deepest. So if you do have multiple levels, they have to select all the way to the end. And then you can also change the labels around if you want. All right. So let's just save that. And if we go in and edit, you can see these options right here. Okay. Hosting, and you can drill down. Let's actually increase this a little bit more. So let's create Drupal core and Drupal CMS. Drupal core and Drupal CMS. Save and go to list, and let's add this. Where is this? Here. There you go. Click on save, and let's reset this so it's alphabetical. There we go. Now, if we come back here and refresh, you can see now we have a third level. So we have a lot of levels we can get down when it comes to the client side hierarchical select. We do have a bunch of levels. Now, another module I recommend you take a look at is called Chosen. This is more of a library that changes all of your select lists on your Drupal site. So it's not really specifically just for the taxonomy system. When you install this module, you actually give it a selector and you can tell it to load up the chosen library on elements with a defined selector if there are more than, what is it, certain amount of items or something like that. Or you can really control it. But I couldn't talk about taxonomy and all of these widgets without mentioning this module because it is a very popular module. It is a very popular module. You can see. Oh, it hasn't gone down. Oh, it's risen. Oh, what happened here? Look at that. Look at that. I think somebody probably a whole bunch of sites either weren't installed or a whole bunch of Drupal 7 sites all of a sudden got access to the internet and they were able to ping back to Drupal.org. That's probably it. You can see that it kept growing. Oh, it kept growing after the 2016, because if you have a look at a lot of the popular modules from 2016, it's been downhill since then. No, I'm joking. You can see it's all the way up here and then slowly coming back down. That's all right. Drupal CMS is going to sort everything else out. Who knows? We'll see. A slight little bump in Drupal 6. There's still 2,000, just under 3,000 Drupal 5 sites. Oh, that is awesome. 16 Drupal 6 sites. Interesting. Wait, no, that's not Drupal 5. What am I talking about? No, that's version 5. Sorry. I've had a busy week. It's not Drupal 5. Apologies. In total, that much. Anyway, all right, cool. So, if you want to tame your select lists, check out Chosen. Be the chosen one and check out Chosen. All right. So, we've looked at managing taxonomy vocabularies, referencing content, no, categorizing content. Now let's look at views and actually using these category fields to filter a views page, because this is another part where it's very useful to categorize your content using the taxonomy system, because then you can create some awesome views. Now, before we move on, let's just quickly create another test page. Test Drupal news. Drupal news goes here. This can be tag 3, and this can be AWS. hosting on AWS. Okay. All right. So we've done that. All right. So now what we're going to do is go to structure, views, and let's click on add view, and we'll call this one latest news. Let's select news right here and we'll create a page. Okay. Then click on save and edit. If this is the first time you are using the views module and you want to learn more about this module, then check out one of our videos. We've got it on the YouTube channel. Just go to the WebWash YouTube channel, click on live, and you will see it there. I think it's getting started with views, I think. All right, so we've set everything up. Let me open this up in a new tab. Call this one, what is it? Latest news, okay? It's just displaying the latest news and that's it. Pretty simple. Now let's add in a filter. So what we can do, come along in here, search for tags, and we can click on news tags, add that in. Then we can select our vocabulary, and we can also put in just say a drop down, okay? And you can define which items are selectable as well. So you may only want to allow, say, the first 2 items to be selectable. That you can do. So let's click on save. And what is this complaining about? No values found. Okay, yep. Sorry. We need to expose it. Okay, let's expose it. Click on apply. And now what an expose filter allows you to do is it allows you to select things. Okay, very useful. So you can come along in here, filter it, and you can select it. Okay. The other thing you can do is if we add in category, so if we just select category right now, let's select category and we'll select also client side hierarchical select. And if we select, say, CMS and Drupal, this will filter the list straight away so that it'll only show Drupal content. But you won't be able to switch it, or because it's not exposed, the user can't change it. So let's expose it on the front end. Click on save. Now if we refresh, we should see, oh wait, what happened there? Oh, let me put in, there we go. Now what we can do is we can drill down and go all the way. Well, no, let's go to hosting, AWS, and click on apply. So this is a feature of client side hierarchical select. This is a very good feature of it. Now the other module, which I highly recommend that I don't have here, but comes with Drupal CMS, and you can install it on Drupal core. So if we click on extend, search for better expose filters, because better expose filters are just expose filters, but better. Hence the name, better expose filters. So they are betterer. I don't think that's a word. Better, betterer. Anyway, we come back here and refresh. And you switch this to better exposed filters. We might have, where is it? Okay, that's quite, that is working. So now if we refresh, okay, let's go back here. And if we go to settings, we have a few options. So let's change tags and let's change it to, say, checkboxes. So you can select multiple tag items. Let's click on save. And now what you can do, well, can't select multiple items because we've only allowed one item. We'll change that. So here we can select, say, where is it, tag 3. Come along in here and you can filter it by this particular tag. Now, out of the box, I don't think Views gives you this ability. Okay, so this is good. Okay, this is good. Let's go back here. Let's just remove this one for now because it is kind of getting in the way. Now, if we come along in here, see, again, checkboxes and radio buttons. So what we need to do is then change this item. Let's change this. No, not there. And is one, is all. Oh, here we go, multi-select. I think it's this one. So now if we refresh, come back here. There we go. Now it is a checklist. And in the past, I have used better exposed filters to give users the ability to select tags exactly this way through checklists. Sorry, not checklists, checkboxes. And this is a pretty good this is a pretty good interface. In the past, I've also styled this to look like a facet as well. It's worked pretty well. So here, click on apply, and you can see our one item. When it comes to building out pages, yeah, you can spend a lot of time with views and exposed filters. And it gets you 80% there, 80 to 90%, but sometimes the last 10% can take you 80% of the time. No, no. It will take you 10% to get 90% there. So to build 90% of the functionality, it only takes you 10% of the budget. There you go. That's a better way of talking about it. To get you 90% there, it will takes only 10% of the budget, but the last 10% sometimes takes 90% of the budget. True story. It's happened to me many times. But the last little bits and pieces of just styling little things takes the most time. So better exposed filters, highly recommend it. You can do a lot of things with it. Come along in here. You can display in line. You can even change. You can even override it. Oh, yeah, you can even override the text display. There's a lot you can do here. There is a lot you can do. It is exposed filters, but better. And then you've also got auto submit, include reset button. Yeah, you do have a lot of stuff. All right. The final module we're going to take a look at is called Taxonomy Manager. This allows you to manage your taxonomy terms. And when it comes to moving taxonomy terms around and just searching for things, it is pretty useful. It is pretty useful. All right, so to download it, just go ahead and download it. I've already done it. And what we're going to do is go to Extend. Do I have Extend opened up? Oh, let me just close a few of these tabs. Let's go here, Taxonomy. Where is it? Taxonomy Manager. And click on Install. Give that a second. And if you go to Structure, you will see Taxonomy Manager. And then click on your vocabulary. So let's click on Category. And you do get this nice little tree functionality where you can drill down. We can select items. So you can bulk delete if you want. You can just jump to specific pages, which is pretty cool. You can also export as well. So as I mentioned, this is useful for just grabbing content and just exporting it out. If you want to move things around, very useful for that. Of course, the IDs will change. So be careful if you're referencing content because the actual term IDs will change. You can also export out. You can export CSV as well, which is very useful. searching as well. We'll come along in here and search for hosting. We can see it. What about Google Cloud? Is that going to drill down? Oh, there you go. Oh, that is pretty cool. Actually, searches and opens it up. And then if you click on add, you can bulk add content in. So let me just show you how to do that. So here, I've got a bit of content that I'll just chuck in. And the structure is frameworks is top level. And then the child items has a dash. So let's click on add. There you go. Frameworks has been added, which is great. Now, if you do want to move these around, what you have to then do, unfortunately, you can't just click and drag. Then what you want to do is perhaps just go to taxonomy, and then come along in here, and you can click and drag and move things around. So that's the other thing you can do, is if you click on any of the parent items, it will grab the child items and you can move them around. But be aware, you can easily destroy your structure if you do that. And I've seen that happen when it's just like where you're just mucking around with it and it's like, oh crap, what did I do? In that case, you're like, all right, refresh and you're done. Okay. So yeah, just be careful with that. Just be careful with that. So if you have a need to manage your taxonomy terms and you want to bulk import and export, then take a look at Taxonomy Manager. I would normally, I've used this module in the past, but I don't use it that much unless there's a very specific reason for it, because editors can, do a bit of damage if they have too much control sometimes. That's been my experience. Yeah, that's been my experience, where they'll make a change and then they'll come over and be like, oh, is there a recycling bin I can just grab a whole bunch of content that I deleted? Now, in the past, I would say no, there isn't. But nowadays, I can actually use the trash module, which is a module which I discovered in Drupal CMS. So let's just quickly recap what we have covered, okay? If you want to categorize your content, then look at using taxonomy. That is exactly what it's built for. The word taxonomy means the science of classifying or the science of classification. You can create all your category types. You can create tags. You can create a category. You can create status, a status type. You can create a project type. You can create, I don't know, all sorts of stuff. I don't know. Anything that needs to be categorized can be categorized, which is pretty cool. And if you click on, say, one of these tags, it will take you to the index page that shows the content that is referencing this category. Or in this case, tag, but vocabulary. Then once you've created your vocabs and your terms, then you want to create your fields and attach them to your content. So that is where you reference it and point it to a specific vocabulary. And then you can muck around with the formatters, well, the widgets, sorry. And you can give your editors an awesome UI. Then you can create your views and create your exposed filters using Better Exposed Filter. And finally, you can manage all of this by using Taxonomy Manager. So that is it. Thank you so much for watching. If you want to learn more about Drupal, head over to webwash.net and also other CMSs. I'm going to start looking at other CMSs. I do want to. The CMS world is very interesting these days. But if you want to learn more about Drupal, as I mentioned, head over there. If you want to check out other videos, head over to the WebWash YouTube channel. And I've mentioned this before, but I am in the process of uploading all of these live streams ad-free and also cut up, so it's easier to digest into a WebWash Premium community, which is on webwash.net. Haven't launched it yet, but there are some videos that are available if you go to webwash.net slash course. So there we go. Webwash.net slash courses. I've actually got another set of courses to upload. Essentially what I'm doing is I'm going to be slowly adding to it. And then eventually I will make it like right now they are free. And well, they'll always be free on YouTube as well, but there's ads, whereas this is ad free. And I'm just trying to get as much as I can before launching it. And I'm going to launch it in stages where it's like a lifetime for one set price, and then eventually I'll do like a subscription depending on. I'll just see how it goes. Because I do enjoy these videos. I love producing these videos, but I do need to kind of figure out how to monetize it a bit better than just YouTube. But I'm always going to try and do a weekly live stream and make it available for free. Exactly what I'm doing. So if you want to, yeah, check it out. Go to webwash.net slash courses. Anyway, that is it from me. If you have any questions, please leave a comment and just chuck in some ideas for future videos. I'm always on the lookout for future videos. Anyway, that is from me. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next time. All right. That was fun, fun, fun. Let's have a look at this one. So you do have this hierarchical. Oh, wait, no. What was it? Hierarchical select? Anyway, hope everyone had a fun evening. No comments. Oh, I guess, yeah, taxonomy is not that exciting. Well, yeah, had a pretty busy week, so I wasn't able to really put something better. But I think it's important for taxonomy. I am trying to create like a nice library of important topics in Drupal. That's what I'm utilizing these live streams for. Also to offer great content, but also to have a nice big library of content. So if there are, please, if there are any future topics you want covered that's not AI specific, I've actually seen a whole bunch of changes to the Drupal AI. I'm just waiting for that to kind of settle because I do think there's some awesome stuff that I do want to cover in the future. All right. Well, let's just leave it at that. Any comments? No, no, no. No, no comments at all. All right. Well, everyone have a great weekend. It is going to be a great weekend for me. There's the Japanese Grand Prix happening, which is great. A few good storylines if you've been following the Formula One. I want to see how Red Bull goes now with old Yuki. Has been upgraded to the big leagues, well, to the faster car. Anyway, we'll see how things go. It's going to be a fun weekend. All right, cool. All right, take care. Oh, cool. One comment. Ah, thank you. It's always Daniel. Can always rely on you. It's great. One comment. Nice stream. Thank you very much. That's what I need. I just need somebody to say, good stream. And then I'm like, that's it. Awesome. Awesome, awesome. Anyway. Okay, let's just leave it at that. Oh, I'll comment you. All right, cool. See you all later. See you next week. Now, what am I going to talk about next week? I've got no idea. Need to figure it out. I do have a list somewhere. I do have a list. Anyway, take care. See ya. Bye-bye.